Hi, class. So this is our last look at the research assignment. I want to make sure that you go through it and really reread all the specifications. I just added the rubric down at the bottom, so I'd like to show it to you. If you scroll all the way down the assignment to the very bottom, you'll see the rubric. So the rubric is how you'll be assessed or scored. And in each box, it has the task that's to be fulfilled. And then over on the right, the number of points, so you can just see how important that is to the overall assignment. So just a few things I wanted to make sure that you are aware of. The first thing to be aware of as you start to write and finish up your research paper is that you do have to use the same topic that I approved in your research proposal. So you can't just go and change your topic without checking with me and without getting it approved. So if in your research proposal you said that you were researching microplastics and that all of a sudden at the last minute I get a paper on depression in teens, I probably won't accept it because that's not something that we've been building on and working on over the past few weeks. So what goes to my mind is that you ran out of time and you found this other paper, possibly someone else's paper, and that you're now submitting it as your own. So the process is really important to me. So make sure that you follow all the rules of the assignment, okay? Okay, and then also I want to make sure that your paper is easy to follow. So we talked about outlining. You should have an outline if you completed that assignment. So hopefully you'll be able to work off your outline or some version of it. And it just needs to be logical in how you present it. So there's not one right way to present any topic. There are many, many ways. But when I read it or someone else reads it, it should make sense in the order of how your paragraphs appear in the paper. This also means that you'll want to go back and make sure that you have enough transitions. So transitions can be single words like first, next, later, therefore, but they can also be sentences, like entire sentences that link one idea to the next idea. So in my previous paragraph, I mentioned this. In this paragraph, we will see how, just to give you an example of how you can link the ideas, you don't have to say something goofy like that, but I think you get the idea. Okay, and then also I'm going to be looking at the types of sources that you use. So I'll accept, any kind of source, like any kind of article, website, as long as it's relevant to what you're doing. So it doesn't have to be necessarily a really heavy academic journal, but you definitely want to balance it out with heavier sources, like more technical, more authoritative, with lighter ones. So for some of you, you're going to be using TikTok as a source, maybe some video that an influencer made. And so it just depends on what you're writing about. So I especially want to make sure that they're relevant. And it doesn't have to be always academic. So relevant can also just be that it's doing some specific job in your paper, or it can be professional, like from an organization, for example, a government site or a university site. So it just has to be, the right source for what you're trying to do. Okay, now this one is also super important since all semester we've been talking about voice and how you can be yourself in your writing. So does your voice come through? Is it evident that you're a person with a personality and that you're getting a little creative with that so that you're not robotic, you're not just writing a dry and informational paper, but that you're making an attempt to connect with your audience? And that goes back to ethos, which we talked about, and just being able to present yourself as someone who has some knowledge on the topic and who's fair and even-handed and who wants to make it interesting for the audience. Okay, and then just remember that all good writing really is a balance of ethos, pathos, and logos. So any kind of article that we read will have all three of those things to different degrees, as well as what I didn't put here, but is kairos, or the pressure of time, and the necessity to show that your topic matters today. It matters now. It's not just some vague, distant, in the future, in the past topic, but that it's happening now and that we need to address it. I want to make sure also that you're aware that when you're quoting from any of your sources or paraphrasing, that you do identify that information. You say where it came from, either in your sentence or at the end of your sentence in parentheses. So all of this information is in your handbook. If you go back to your modules at the top of the page and you go back to the little seagull reader, you can click on the MLA section that gives you more information about how to cite different types of articles or audio or videos or pictures or anything else. So all that information is also pretty much available online. Not all of it is great information, and some of it is incorrect. So best to start with your handbook and then go from there. And if you have any question at all with how to cite something, check with me. If I don't know, I'll be able to help you find the answer for sure. Okay, few people in the past have turned in a research paper and they've forgotten to put a works cited list. Oops, that's a big deal. So without that works cited list, I can't trace your information, and it's essentially not a valid research paper. So you need both of the in-text citation, where you say who said what, and then at the end you need that list in alphabetical order that's properly formatted in hanging indentation to give a complete rundown of the sources that you used. Okay, last two things have to do with grammar and editing. So make sure you finish early enough so that you have a day or two to really sit down, read the thing out loud with a pencil in your hand, and that you're circling, marking, changing words, making it as easy to read and concise as possible. Make sure that all of your words are the best words that you could possibly use to describe what you're trying to say. It's also a nice idea if you sit down and you ask if maybe your brother or sister or a friend will just listen to you read your paper. And sometimes they can give you feedback on something that's a little bit unclear. Maybe they'll hear a word that doesn't really fit the sentence. So that's nice. You might need to pay them a couple bucks or something, but it's worth it for sure. You can also record yourself reading it and then listen to the recording. And sometimes that allows you to hear places that don't sound as nice as you would like them to sound. That's another helpful technique that I found. Okay, at the bottom of our rubric here, of course, is originality. You know how I feel about AI. So all of our battle these days has to do with originality. And while the temptation is great to use ChatGPT and to just get the thing done, please just know that if Canvas tracks it, or if I see that you've used AI, you can get a 0 on the whole project, which is terrible. And of course that will drastically affect your grade. So you don't want that. Make sure, please, please, please just stay away from ChatGPT. Like, imagine that ChatGPT and AI is like crack. Like it's crack cocaine. It's going to suck you in. It's going to hurt you. And it's going to destroy your voice and your brain. Okay, I'll stop. But you know what I'm talking about. Okay, last thing. After you submit your paper, give yourself a few hours before the assignment closes so that you can examine your similarity report. So your similarity report is generated within a few minutes after you submit it, and you'll see a little flag next to your file, and the flag will usually appear as green, yellow, orange, or red. And so that just tells you how much outside language you have in your paper. I would say around 20% is a good thing to aim for. That should put you in the green. It can be a little bit more than that. And you're not counting also your works cited list. So just remember that any sentences that are highlighted in your paper, the database is telling you that these sentences appear somewhere else. So if those sentences are in quotation marks and they're cited, you're okay. It's good. If those sentences that are highlighted appear to be your own sentences, but they're not cited, then you've got a problem, because now it's showing that this sentence is either identical or very similar to another sentence somewhere in the database or on the internet. So please take some time to read your similarity report. You can then make adjustments. You can maybe add quotation marks, or maybe you need to paraphrase better so that it doesn't sound too much like the original article that you're reading. If you need help with that, if you submit your paper a few days early, I'm happy to explain that to you and to help you fix it up so your final draft looks A-okay and ready to go. All right, so all the points that you can earn for this paper add up to 150, and so it's a lot, and I am really excited to read your work. So please give it your best and just know that you're almost done. This is the last thing other than your research presentation that you'll have to do for my class. So congratulations on being almost to the finish line. Let me know if I can help you. Okay, thanks.